Even though we didn't get a major reveal for Pokemon Day, there's some speculation going around that we actually got a tease for the Nintendo Switch inside of the information reveals, so let's go and check it out. This is the little Pokemon Day trailer that we got, showing people having fun, loving Pokemon. They're a nice little promotion for the day after the countdown, after the build-up. People were expecting more, but overall, there was a lot of work put into this. Multiple ways to celebrate Pokemon Day, February 27th. Want to get people out there celebrating Pokemon. There's Pikachu talk. Couple of other features that came through, but what's coming up is what people were wondering about, because wait a second, new Snapchat lenses. That is a very nice looking Bulbasaur model just for something random for Pokemon Day for Snapchat. Is this like a tease? Because the Pokemon Company has technically kind of done something like this before with the Pokemon Sun and Moon, or Pokemon Direct. I want to say Nintendo Direct, but it was technically a Pokemon Direct. So yeah, we didn't get much about Pokemon Sun and Moon, but we did get to see a model for a new Pokemon. So Pikipek was just chilling there, and that was like the ultimate hype teaser on top of the ultimate hype trailer. So it does kind of show us a couple of things. Like, even though the models inside of Pokemon XY, Omega Green Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Sun and Moon, they don't look that great in game. I mean, they're still well developed. They're still well made, because I think they use like Maya and stuff, and then we actually get to see the model, a lot of polygons there, so it's actually pretty well detailed, and then just gets scaled around and stuff for the Nintendo 3DS. But what about this? This Bulbasaur model definitely looks a lot better, right? It seems like this is something out of a new era of Pokemon models, so maybe we're onto something right here. And then this was actually picked up by another channel, so we have Awesome Soul Pokemon. I found this video in like my recommended. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I remember seeing this, and a lot of other people, like, they just made an off comment. It wasn't anything to like go super deep in and get super hype over. It was like, yeah, that does look a bit different. What about Pokemon Go? Well, this actually isn't the Pokemon Go model. People have been playing Pokemon Go would know that. People that kind of like faded out of Pokemon Go, it kind of looks similar because of the shading and stuff, but it's not really there. So what's going on with this Bulbasaur? And then with this video I found, it was the direct comparison. Pokemon Go doesn't really have like this lip that Bulbasaur has. Also, yeah, it's a lot more simple, but this has like curves inside the bulb. This one actually looks like a really well fleshed out model. And then we all know about the Nintendo 3DS. Like, yeah, that's kind of it. However, the Nintendo 3DS is still very similar, because like you can't really just take the image off. I'm not also faulting this guy. I thought it was a really interesting and nice video. Also a good idea, you know. This is some fun speculation. This is taking in like real information and then trying to apply it into something that might actually turn out to be real news. This isn't someone like finding a fake on 4chan or picking up some garbage. He actually tried to like come up with an interesting theory, and it kind of worked out. But the thing is, you have to go into the Pokedex to really get a good view of the model. As you can see, there's a bit more detail to the model than what you would expect off of like Bulbapedia, just a screenshot, or seeing it as an opposing Pokemon, because it does get a little junky. But once you zoom in on it, it gets less pixelated, and we can see that there are some similarities here, because Bulbasaur does have the lip. You can see that it kind of bulges out a little right there. Even the bulb looks fairly similar to the one on the right. So maybe this is just a reskin, a reshade, or something like that. And in the video, there was some talk about the No Lines mod, because with the No Lines mod, and also just kind of getting a higher definition render of the models, you can see that there's a lot of detail put into it. Like I said, that's Maya. It's not like they're just kind of scrapping something together in some like very low poly 3D model. It's just that this shows the Nintendo Switch is an absolute necessity moving forward to new Pokemon games, because what exists inside of the 3DS, all the Pokemon models are actually that quality or better, and actually this Bulbasaur model right here is the same model from inside the Nintendo 3DS. It looks like this model has to be from a new era of Pokemon games, and that's where some other speculation came in. Like, well, if this isn't Pokemon Go, then what could it possibly be? Because Pokemon Go still has a nice little style to it, and then people were talking about Ga Ole. So Pokemon Ga Ole, I kind of covered it before because they did a Z version, I believe, and that I like kind of joked, like, there's our Pokemon Z version, guys, give up on the dream is dead, let's go into 7th generation. Now, I kind of memed with it a bit, but yeah, like, it's Japan only, so not a lot of people have experience with it, might not have, like, seen the models and stuff. And the models, they kind of have like a mix between Pokemon Stadium, higher resolution, and then something in the 3DS. You know, it is like an arcade game. It is going to be a little more simple and played out a bit differently. After like watching some of the gameplay, you know, it's hard to tell if these are the same models. But when I look at the Suicune model, it really looks like it's from the 3DS games, just with a different render. So I guess, you know, the moral of the story is if this can look like this, then that means kind of anything is possible with the base model. I think the no lines mod also shows that. Like the Suicune looks really similar, it's just that the top part of its head is a bit more smoothed out, looks a bit more plasticky with the way that the lighting is, but the Decidueye right here looks like it's straight out of the no lines mod, and then when you kind of watch it play out, the idle animations are very similar, if not the exact same, and it does kind of have that, you know, 3DS upgraded kind of feel to it. So is this going to be Nintendo Switch level of graphics? Who knows? Like, how much extra work does Game Freak need to put in to update all the models to put it into Nintendo Switch? And now that brings into question what Game Freak is going to do for the Nintendo Switch. Is the Nintendo Switch just going to be all new models of all the new Pokemon, and that's why it's delayed, and that's why it should be like a 2019 game or something like people are saying? Or is pretty much most of the work already done? Can they just take the existing models of Pokemon, update it with better graphics engine in the Nintendo Switch, and then pretty much be good to go? Maybe model some new Pokemon for the 8th generation, and then they're done, or tweak some of the existing models to make them fall in line with the higher quality if they kind of tend to stick out. So it looks like for actually making the Pokemon, there's not too much work that Game Freak needs to do, and even if we're getting Diamond Pearl remakes, what if this isn't even an 8th generation game? They don't even have to make new Pokemon, just character models, and then the Pokemon are already good to go. Like, you look at Battle Revolution, you look at Stadium, you look at the existing 3D Pokemon games before the Nintendo 3DS, and yeah, it was still pretty good looking for its time, but also showed that it didn't need like the most insane amount of work, and Game Freak's been updating it along the way. Also, the original Nintendo Switch Pokemon Stars rumor, now that's pretty much fake at this point. Eurogamer, they did a follow-up article kind of saying, hey, we still think that there's elements of this that are true. We don't know what happened with Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but everyone was thinking that Nintendo Switch was going to be coming sooner. But we can see, you know, this is the model, and the rumor was that this is actually from the Nintendo Switch game. So the base model is actually really well done. We saw the mesh. We saw that there's actually a lot of quality and definition here. It's just rendered differently for Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pokemon X and Y even. So these are effectively the same models that we've had throughout the Nintendo 3DS, and then Joe Merritt coming in and showing us that these are the same models that we've had since 2012. This is 2012 for the Pokédex 3D Pro, and when you look at it like that, that is the same Bulbasaur, and that's why we can be certain that, you know, this is the same model that we have in the 3D Pros. Wow, that's kind of like crazy to think about, and then upgrading it into the 3DS, and then just kind of showing like, yeah, it's just the way that the game is rendered. There's so much going on in Pokemon XY, Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's so busy that we can't get this quality out of the system anymore, which is why the Nintendo Switch is absolutely needed for an upgrade. People are complaining saying, oh, I'm just going to quit Pokemon since I can't afford the upgrades to Nintendo Switch. Even though Nintendo Switch is a very reasonably priced console, they might do something like they did with Pokemon X and Y. I'm not talking about releasing like a miniature version of Nintendo Switch, but they did the Nintendo 2DS. That way there was more accessibility. So I could imagine a massive sale, a really good bundle for Nintendo Switch plus a new Pokemon game, and then that's going to make it much more accessible for everyone. But as it stands right now, you know, this is kind of the best that we can get out of the Nintendo 3DS by comparison, and it still looks pretty good. Like, Nintendo 3DS upgrading to 3D models for Pokemon games, that was awesome, but now we're many years ahead. We're getting into Nintendo Switch. And it is reasonable that people would expect some kind of quality upgrade for the Nintendo Switch, but it feels like the quality was always there, so comment down below, what do you think? Do you think that the 3D Pro, going back to like before we even had Pokemon X and Y, just the early-ish days of the Nintendo 3DS, because I remember when the 3D Pro came out, and I was like, finally, something Pokemon, I get to live like a really real, close to real Pokemon thing, and I thought it was pretty cool. Do you think that that model would still hold up on the Nintendo Switch? Because I look at that and I think, yeah, maybe a little bit of updating, but as we've seen, the models, the mesh, it all looks good. It all looks solid enough to just kind of transition over into the Nintendo Switch. Would you be happy with that? Would you like to see even more of an upgrade somehow? Because, I mean, I look at Pokemon Battle Revolution, I'm like, hell, I would take Battle Revolution graphics almost. Okay, maybe not exactly like Pokemon Battle Revolution, but I mean, for its time, you know, Nintendo, they've never been on the cutting, leading edge of graphics or anything, and the same with Pokemon. But the thing is, with like Game Freak or Creatures, they do good 3D Pokemon model work. Like, even though coming from the Game Boy, and then only recently being like 3D with the Nintendo 3DS, all those other games, they actually have like pretty solid models for a time. Like Pokemon Battle Revolution, are you ready to feel old? Are you ready to just kind of feel those white hairs creeping in? Battle Revolution's almost 12 years old. That's a 2006 game. And I mean, for its time, I feel like it definitely holds up. So take that a decade into the future, and with the current models that we've seen that Pokemon's already using, I mean, it'll work out. It feels like it could be a really solid Pokemon experience. So what do you guys think? I think that's kind of a good way to end the video. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.